right, good evening and welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, and it is exactly 6:30 p.m. I would like, Daniela, if you would mind doing the land recognition.
I would not mind. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you. All right, if everybody would like to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, Lou, would you like to lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Councilmember Klein will be absent today, but if we could do roll call, city planner, council clerk.
Councilmember Cece.
Here.
Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Klein is absent. Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Here.
Mayor Fleming.
Here. Okay. Now's the time for any agenda modifications. Anybody want to pull something from the consent agenda or anything like that? Do we have any recuse? Oh, I should not supposed to say that. I was looking for a motion in a second to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
All right. All this, that just passes.
All in favor?
Yep. All
Good.
in favor?
Aye.
There we go. All right, we have two wonderful presentations today. The first one is newest officer joining the force, Officer Ruby, K-9. Come on up, Chief Dan, and Officer Anderson.
Mayor, members of council, first, let me apologize for my attire. I couldn't get anything a little more comfortable over the cast, but this here is Ruby. So traditionally, Ruby, she will hold the rank, and the rank is always higher than that of the handler. So I kind of like Lieutenant Ruby, and I think that's going to be her rank, but we're going to let her pass training first to see what she'll actually come out with. So Ruby is a full-blooded bloodhound. We picked her up in Kentucky on the 23rd, I think, or 27th. We picked her up in Kentucky. She comes from a long line of tracker dogs. Her purpose is, she's a little bit unique, especially for California, for what her purpose is. So she is a tracker or a locator dog, search and rescue dog. She can be used to track, say, a suspect that is missing or that has fled, but she is not an apprehension dog. She will not bite, and that's not what her purpose is. And her primary purpose for this area is if we have an individual that's missing or that's lost or becomes disoriented. That is our main goal that we decided to go with Ruby in this breed of dog.
Which has happened fairly recently.
It's happened fairly recently. It's happened a lot since I've been here. Surprising a number that I think that this is going to be a huge benefit for us. Bloodhounds, a couple traits for them is everything they say that they can see fine, but they almost don't use their eyes. Their smell is so strong that they have a vision almost with their sense of smell. For dogs or canines in general, they have the most receptacles in their nose. It's 300 million. Where humans have, I think, 25 million, if I'm getting my numbers right, and most dogs have 100 million. So it's about 3 times higher than even the average dog.
That's amazing.
She started training last week, and she's been doing above what we were expecting for her training. She's doing amazing. She was born in October.
Of course she is.
If you see her feet are absolutely massive, so I still think she has some growing to do. So. For the handler here, Greg, he has a lot. I spent 3 days with her, and she's extremely lovable, but she is a toddler that can run around on 4 legs.
She's got some pretty good sized feet, too.
Yeah, she's got some good sized feet, so I think she's got a little bit of growing to do. She's perfect, I think, for our community. She's very loving, and that's encouraged with this breed because she's not an apprehension dog. We can't allow that. The only thing we need to avoid with her until she's off training is just contact with other dogs. But contact with people is great. She's doing 3 days a week of training right now, 3 to 4 days a week of training right now for,
Yawn.
and her training's expected to last at least 7 weeks. Wow. So, and this is Officer Anderson. He's been with her since just a little over a week now. Yeah. And he's living with his fiance. Ruby's living with the fiance and 2 other dogs, and so far everything's going just exceptionally well. So, yeah, that's Ruby. She's going to be with us for a very long time. The only thing we're kind of waiting on now is we do have her vehicle, but it is being put together. So right now, poor Ruby
Custom car.
right now she's living in a kennel in the back of a car, which is a little bit tight, but we're making it work until we get her car ready, which should be about, I'm going to guess 45 days. So right when she's off of training.
Officer Anderson, what kind of dogs do you have at home?
I have a Boston Terrier, and my wife has, I can't remember what the name of it is, my dog.
So you've got the full range.
Smaller dogs, she still thinks that she's a small dog and wants to jump all over them, but they just keep their distance now.
Yeah.
They don't want to get boxed.
She's, when I brought her home, I had her for 2 days before I could hand her off, and we have 2, like a 6-pound and a 14-pound dog. And unfortunately, Ruby thinks she's 6 pounds or 14, so she just wants to play, but she just bulldozes the poor other one, so.
How old is Ruby?
She born in October, so 7 months?
6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could
October 25th, I believe is her birthday.
That's awesome.
And the name Ruby was, that was selected. We had 5 names that we put it to the public, and we had about 300 and something odd votes, so quite a bit of votes for the name, and Ruby won. So
It's a good name.
Wasn't that the name you favored as well?
it was, and I'm not going to say I didn't encourage a lot of people to vote that way.
302 votes.
It's a good fit. It's a good fit.
I think it is too. Yeah.
Well, how does the Ruby, round out the other canines here? Because I know most of the other canines are bite dogs.
So all the other dogs in the county that are attached to a police officer are apprehension dogs, which is a total place for apprehension dogs. I'm not against them.
Yep.
But we do not have any canine search and rescue dogs. So we do have search and rescue that we partner with, but there is a big difference between having an officer that's search and rescue and having a search and rescue unit that you work with. So those are almost always volunteer purpose. So if we do have an emergency, then we have to call, see who's available. Your response time is usually much more delayed than as opposed to having an officer. Officers, if they're not on vacation, all our officers are expected to have a 45-minute response time, whether they're on or off duty.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be exceptions to that, obviously, sometimes, but if his wife's having a kid, I'm not going to expect a 45-minute response time, but that is the response time in general for an officer. The other thing is when you do have an officer that has a canine, there's what's called Prop 115 through the court process. Without getting into it real extensively, it's a whole lot easier for testifying purposes if you have an officer connected to the canine as opposed to using a third party or search and rescue group. So that's not always for the criminal side either, because that could be for really anything that we're looking for the dog. So if it's search and rescue, and it's hard to say what all the particulars could be, because anything you could think of can happen in this realm, but it adds a lot to having an officer directly connected to it. I also think, without going on too long of a tangent here, there's a lot of laws that are coming out. Some of them are not new, and it's always under attack to some degree, where they are passing a lot more laws that are restrictive toward apprehension and bite dogs. I don't know which way those are going to go, but for our agency, when I'm looking to create the canine unit again, this is a massive investment, and we don't want to invest a huge chunk of proceeds into something that is in question for the foreseeable future. I think that it's a good idea we let this see how that plays out through the courts and go from there. But this would not be affected. Ruby would not be affected because she is not an apprehension dog. So.
And it's perfectly, it rounds out our force, and it's what we need here more than, a bite dog.
I believe so, too.
A hug dog.
And she is a hug dog. She's a hugger. The only problem is that she will slobber on you. So you can come around. Everybody's welcome to come see her. We can walk her around the dais, but she will slobber on you. As my wife says, you'll get slimed. So.
Slide. Oh, that's so nice. Well, I can't wait till the kids get to meet her, and we get to show her around and do all that good stuff. Is Rudiger supporting this in any capacity?
So yeah, actually, thank you for that, because I should have mentioned all the support we did get. We got a lot of support for Ruby. We got private donations, and then Rudiger has been absolutely supportive from the very beginning. So before, one of the first connects I did make when I was first considering, probably my first month here, to reinstate the canine program, I met with members of Rudiger, and they were supportive from day one. And we had several meetings about what type of breed I want. I knew that I was bringing in a different type of breed that's a little bit odd for this area, and I was going to have to go find some alternate routes to even find the dog. From day one, they have been exceptionally supportive. Financially, they've been very supportive,
Good.
and they continue to do so. They're trying to find additional donations for us and everything else. We meet with the Fire and Police Safety Council tomorrow. They're being very supportive, so I meet with them for financial support tomorrow, which I'm sure they're going to support us in any way they can.
Yep.
So those are the two big donors in this area, and then we had a lot of private donors too that are just, the community's awesome. And when they hear about what we're trying to bring, they've been exceptionally supportive of it.
That's so great. Congratulations. Thanks so much for making it happen. And Officer Anderson, thanks for taking the responsibility and some of the fun, I guess.
Yeah, some of the fun, but right now, he's got a lot of
work.
He's got busy hours. So
Yeah.
for the next 7-8 weeks, he's going to be working a lot. But
Mad respect. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Ruby.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do a little tour.
What am I going to City?
Exactly. Ruby's like you.
He likes it too. Wait, am I holding?
Oh, she liked you. She went right to you.
Not that kind of dog.
We'll find out, right?
Probably. Good looking dog.
Isn't she soft? She's got about the softest coat. Yeah.
We'll adjourn now.
Sorry, I'm going to stop talking so you can work your way around.
Look at you. What a lovely dog.
Beauty. You are a beauty.
They all eat the same stuff, or does she have a special diet?
She just eats, it's called backdoor country. It's just regular kids.
All the kids.
Sniff and sniff it. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
All right.
Friendly.
Just like every dog I ever met.
Oh,
You're a beauty, Ruby.
Matches your pants.
You just want to hang out, don't you? What a look. You smell my cat.
What's in your pocket?
Thanks.
Thanks, Elsa.
And I would like to say, in just closing, thank you, council, and Gary and Danielle. I brought this to you guys for my idea initially,
Yeah.
and everybody's been very supportive. I know it's a little bit of outside the box thinking on it, but the council and everybody here has been extremely supportive of the idea. So, yeah, I'm really proud of her. I think she's going to work out great, and thank you all for supporting it too.
Thank you, Chief.
That's why she fits in, because she's outside of the box thinking, and that's what we like here, Chief.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate it.
good
So,
job. Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
Not too far.
Kind of who we are.
It is who we are. All right, thanks. And that's, without further ado, this next presentation is even more important. Sorry, Ruby. We have National Public Works
Speak
Week.
for yourself.
Well,
I mean, you guys are, but dog, I mean,
It's like, that's
Dog.
life, man. You gotta compete with a dog.
all right, so we have a lot of, we have all of our Public Works gentlemen here representing National Public Works Week. And, it's been a rough winter for Public Works, huh? You guys have been out there, but I tell you, I mean, there's not a day when there's something going on that I don't see Public Works out there doing something. And I didn't know, I thought there was just like 20 of you guys, because I always see you in different trucks in different places. And my wife, who runs every day, knows exactly where you are. She's like, oh yeah, I saw them over there. I saw them over there. They're cleaning this street. So thank you so much. This winter was a bear. I mean, it was a bear. I mean, and you guys made it look fairly easy. We got compared to Truckee for about a minute, but but anyway, thank you guys. I'm going to have Sean do the.
Awesome, thank you, Mayor. I promised that they wouldn't have to go through all the whereases, so as long as it's okay with you, I will put that to the side. But, our Public Works team really does, it is National Public Works Week, May 21st through 27th, 2023. That's what the proclamation is all about, but really this is a great opportunity for the council and the community to thank our team. In many cities, the folks that you see sitting here in the audience would probably be 4 or 5 groups of that size, if not larger, and I'm not kidding about that. These folks do streets, facilities, water, wastewater, parks. They collect all our coins from the meters, and that's among, a million other duties as assigned, and that's on a good day when nothing breaks. And there's not snow coming down. So the folks you see here are also all working on their distribution 2 licenses, and we expect by the end of the year, all of them will be promoted to maintenance worker 2, which for them means more money.
Yeah.
For us means they can do more things on behalf of the city. So it's a pretty good trade. More important than, or more valuable, I hope, than the piece of paper for a proclamation is that later this month we're having a barbecue at Pioneer Park that they have to set up and take down. No, just kidding. With your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to invite your superintendent, Shane Kinney, to come up and introduce his team.
Come on up, Shane, definitely.
Hello, I am Shane Kinney, Superintendent of Public Works, and I appreciate the recognition. We do work hard, as he said. We are responsible for cleaning the bathrooms for the public, making sure that our streets are clean, swept, sidewalks, curbs are painted, roads are trimmed, streets are trimmed, sidewalks are trimmed. Also the park, we take care of the park as well. We make sure the water gets to your house and the sewer goes away from your house, which is
Thank you.
a pretty big job. Yeah. Don't thank me, thank these guys. I have a really good crew. They work hard. They work hard every day. I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, I'd like to introduce David. David, what do you like about Public Works?
I like that it's always changing, that I get to work with the public, that I got a great boss to work with.
Yay!
Cash after?
Yeah. Josh Blackston?
Hi, Josh.
No. They appreciate you.
What do I say?
What do you like about Public Works?
Oh, it's great. I love seeing all the new people around here. I've lived here my whole life, and it's awesome that I get to contribute to where I grew up. So,
Yeah.
Thanks,
I mean, if
Josh.
I have to be on the spot, so do each of you. Bob, come on up.
Hey, Bob.
This is the, yeah.
Hey,
Only pay
buddy.
attention to the good things he says.
No. Yeah, I've been here 5.5 years working for the city. It's been a great job. I really like the town, and I equate it, and I tell the new guys, when they get on, and that I kind of have this Disneyland attitude about the town. Is like every morning we want it clean, shiny, everything cleaned up, bathrooms ready to go, and we open the doors. I've met people on the streets from Australia, from England, from all over the state, obviously, and you can always tell when they're taking a picture in front of a building or something, and then they'll ask us, where places to eat and stuff are. So those are the people that you want it, to cater to, because you want them to go back and say how great it was being here. And so I like the historic aspect of the town, and people come to see it. And there was even a couple who was here because he said his wife was so into the movie The Christmas Card, she wanted to see all the places that were on there. And I've seen the movie a lot, and I have a couple copies of it, so I was able to direct them to a bunch of different spots that were in there. But I do like it. I've just got done counting coins for the last 2 days, and it's incredible our system, for counting coins and that. And
Do we need to look at that, Bob?
Yeah, it took 2 days, so you know what that means.
yeah.
We're gonna fix that, Bob.
No, and I'm not complaining about it. But
You can.
It's,
It's a little archaic, right?
a little bit, but it's
some
still-
updating to
I
do.
get it, but it's just part of the town and the historic part of it. Love it.
The coin counting is historic also.
Historic.
I just ticked through 56,000 quarters, over 56,000 quarters. So, yeah, and it's, but that old machine keeps kicking along, I wear headphones and just Shuffle coins. But it's good. It's, you know,
Remember the last
it
time
takes
I held
work. There's a lot of maintenance involved with even everything from a meter being hit and bent. We got to straighten them and all that. But Shane gives us all the time we need to do everything we need to do. So he never pushes us on, you know, get it done. You know, there's other stuff. He gets us all the opportunity we need to do everything that we need to do. So I appreciate that. And it's great. We've got some new guys, Thomas from Illinois and David's new, and, you know, love working with him, and Josh, he's, you know, got him on board, and he's a go-getter, has a lot of knowledge, and so it's a really good team. It's probably I've seen a lot come and go in my 5 years here, and this is probably the best group that we have for everybody.
Yeah, nice.
To do it, and team up and stuff. So, I like it, so.
We like you, Bob. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob.
Everybody else does too.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
We're going to have you do some Christmas card movie tours.
You can't walk down the street without
Christmas
talking
card
to Bob.
walking tour.
They made it look like it was the hospital.
You've been here a short while, come on up.
Yeah.
Yes,
You remember the
get to
team?
know them. These are the people that appreciate you.
You from Illinois?
I am. I came here over the summer, started in August. Me and Josh did. I really enjoy working with Shane to learn the community and the infrastructure.
Cool.
Go, you know, we look at a map, look at the tablet, then go out there, and it's not what's on the tablet or the map. So it addresses
go figure.
those sort of issues, and yeah. And I like working, you know, we learn together on the system.
That's great. Welcome, Thomas.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, in closing, you know, more than anything, I appreciate the fact that you recognize us. I really do, because that says a lot. And then everything that you guys do for us. Okay?
You make us look good.
Yeah. Well, they make me look good. I guess it kind of goes around like that, so it's a good thing.
It's some of the praise that I hear the most from the community is how awesome Public Works is. I hear it at least weekly.
You're everywhere.
It's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
I love it.
And it seems a lot more since you've taken over. That's just my impression.
Oh, that's newer. Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
It seems that there's just a lot more activity going on.
All right, I appreciate that.
But
Thank
one of the
you.
things I'd like to ask you is what do you guys need? You know, what do you need from us? What can we do besides throwing you a party?
A vac truck.
A vac truck?
Yeah, but you've already given me other things. It's just on order.
Okay.
And a coin counter, a more updated money
No,
counting
we're
system.
okay. No, we're okay with that. I wouldn't know that he's in there working unless I hear cha-ching, 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 so
Well,
Yeah.
whatever you need, you know,
we'll get there.
whatever you need.
Yeah, I appreciate
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry, Gary,
Yeah, you know,
Mr. Public Works.
entire career in public works, you know, you know, so I've managed you guys for a really long time. Not you guys, but you know, I know what Public Works does, and I know how to measure what Public Works do, and I'm in a very good position, as most of you know, to observe you, whether you appreciate watching you weed whack. Thomas laying on his belly, repairing a water line just on the other side of my fence every morning, looking off my deck, seeing the trash getting hauled, the bathrooms open. You guys are great. You're great. And, you know, former city I was in, you know, a lot of money went to police, and that's nothing against police. I totally get it. But Public Works, you know, when they stand up, when they go to work, so I always got my guys T-shirts that said heroes at half the price. and it's true, because you guys are heroic. You know, I saw it. I watched you this winter. I mean, last winter was really bad. It dumped for 2 days. It took a long time to clean it up. This time it didn't stop. You're out there every day plowing, out there every day working. But you guys are great. You're really good. The attitude is wonderful. You're lucky to work here, and you know it. So thank you so much. I really do see it. I know who you are, and I really appreciate it as a professional. You guys are great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.
Yes.
Little golf clap for the guys.
I should probably mention Bill back there, who might be the oldest public works person in the world or room. What is it?
Oh, come on now.
You're everything, Bill. You do it all.
I won't do what I do without that guy too.
Yeah. Okay, folks, after our nice presentations, we're going to go into public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address
don't have to hang around.
the council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on a non-agenda item. Concerns may be referenced to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item at the time it is heard. So do we have any public comment on come on up, on anything that's not on the agenda? How you doing?
I'm well. Paul Carner. I had cause recently to send the city a letter, a bill, actually, for the deprivation of my civil rights by a couple of police officers. Actually, I think there was a total of 4 the last night. Now, what caused this was there's an individual named Dan, who is, again, a friend of these particular police officers, who was sleeping in front of the library and began harassing the librarians when they went to go get the books out front. Instead of them dealing with him, they had the librarians come down and sign a piece of paper that stated the library was private property. Right, exactly. So do they know the difference between private and public property, or were they lying to the librarians? Now that boy Dan's still up there harassing the librarians. He's urinating on trees in the parking lot during the daytime when the library's open. Nothing happens when I call 911. Somebody where he sleeps on the front door defecated on the front door last night. He was there when I left. When I got back on the bus an hour later, they were cleaning up the mess. So I'm guessing it was him. Now, I'm not going to call the police when he's up there drinking and doing this stuff, because I know who they are. But I'm asking y'all to do something about it because it's hurting the librarians. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. I didn't know about that issue. Is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment?
Hi, Jerry Bloom, 301 Nimrod.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Welcome.
So this is, I have the opportunity, so I'm going to do it. So
Go for it.
the park, I live by the park, and I've loved it. I've moved here in 1979, and I've moved by the park specifically to do that, raise my kids, and I really enjoy the park and the environment. But it's been a couple of years now, you did some work in the park. You put a light up on the restroom that it needs a shade, because I go out in the park at night and the light doesn't allow me to see the stars. I know I'm maybe not supposed to be in the park at night, but the park is a resource that we should be able to use at any time. And the light could have a shade that directed the light down. It's not doing anybody any good shining up in the air. And so I would recommend that be corrected as soon as you can. And I will extend it that I do not appreciate all the lights that are downtown. I think they detract from the environment in Nevada City and the old gas lights and everything. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Jerry.
One more thing, I think you should eliminate the 2-hour limit for parking in the parking lot. It's only selectively enforced, if enforced at all, and I think people come to enjoy the park, and they should be able to stay more than 2 hours. Okay?
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry. All right. Any other public comment? If not, we're going to move on to, I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk. Come on.
Welcome back.
God, what a show today. Congratulations. And I found some books down, they were water billing in the bomb shelter. And it tells you where every faucet is on every address. If you have a hard time finding them, there's a resource besides Bill.
It's all in here.
Well, they wrote them down in the 40s or 30s, whenever that was. So.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just blew my mind out.
Yeah. Anything else?
So for Ruby, I would like her to be trained to raise her right paw for the night she gets sworn in. I have to put on the cheaters. Well, the other dog, I didn't train it, they didn't train it well enough to raise the right paw.
They didn't, no.
But today are two of the best things I've ever had in my childhood. It's National Liver and Onions Day. Yeah. And it's Clean Up Your Room Day, and it's National Shrimp Day, and it's National Small Business Day. And I'd like to thank all of you that showed up for the ribbon cutting at the hat store. And the other item I really appreciated is National Root Canal Appreciation Day.
I don't appreciate that.
Neither do I.
Not right now.
So the next, well, I've talked about the ribbon cutting, but then when we were talking to the people inside, somebody asked what a telegram was and who had it in town. Well, being down the bomb shelter, I found a telegram. And they wondered, where is it? And I said, it's Western Union, that's what the company's called, and it was in the National. And this had, I found it in the, God. See, the mind's going slowly. I'll think of it.
Neil, could you pull the mic up a little bit?
Sure.
Great. Just make sure.
Everybody has to tell me that.
By the bomb shelter, you mean?
The bomb shelter. That was a bomb shelter.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And in 1980, they emptied it out from all the stuff they put in there in 1960. And I'm sorry they didn't keep some of it. I mean, there was food, you name it, it was there. Oh, and the telegram was in the Red Cross box. And this community during World War II sent out 5,000 surgical masks or bandages every month for the duration.
Wow.
And the last will be the 1852 census of Nevada County. It was done by a census agent, and there were 14,220 males.
What about the female?
And females, total. But there were a lot more males than females. And they also broke it down by race. The number of Negroes, there were 178 males and 127 females.
Wow.
The number of foreigners, which would be the Portuguese, the Italians, whatever, males 607, females 196. Now this was kind of interesting. The number of Chinamen were 3,800. But they did not break it down, and I read further on that they never did. They were all one. The number of Indian men, 945. The number of Indian women, 1,230. The number of Indian children, 1,051. And the number of white children born in California, 41 in 1852.
Wow. Interesting demographics.
Yes. It amazed me.
And that was just Nevada City,
Nevada County.
Nevada County.
Yeah.
Nevada.
And none of the Chinese worked on the railroad. They were all gold miners up here. Because that was way before the railroads were even started. Because I understand there was something like 20,000 Chinese in San Francisco in the 1850s.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
you, Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right.
If anyone on Zoom wants
Thank
to make a public comment, please raise your virtual hand. Not seen.
Virtually nothing.
I knew that. All right. Thanks for playing along, folks, with us here. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items, and I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar, consent agenda as presented.
I second.
And can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
And Mayor Fleming.
Yes. All right. Consent agenda moves forward.
And Mr. Mayor, I believe the consent calendar said that the Public Works folks didn't have to stay in the
They can
room after the
go.
consent calendar. I can't find where it is on there, but I'm
Oh,
pretty sure
yeah.
it says that. Yeah.
Right there. You got it. Yeah.
You don't have to hang around. Unless you're,
We're telling you to
I'm a big
leave,
fan of
basically.
recreational democracy myself.
You're welcome to stay and watch the show,
The
Or
budget.
you can get it later on YouTube.
Take the note from the elder, who was the first to rise.
Hey, Bill got something to do.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you, guys. Thank you. All right.
Is that Mike Woodman in the back?
He was on the consent calendar.
Oh,
He had the
great. We didn't need.
NCTC.
So Ken, you're good, right?
You just approved your
We
permit.
just approved your permit. So you showed up today. I didn't know if you wanted to comment or come up or anything.
It's my first time here. He's telling me what to do.
Well, we just approved your request.
It was on the consent agenda, so we did it as a blanket with a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
I just need to say one thing that I'm the new guy in town, and
Not that new.
I just watched I watched the video of the fire, that Gary Tentle did.
Yeah.
And boy, your heart just breaks for what happened, during that time. And
Oh, my God.
what I really see in the community, I'm the new guy, so I hear all the memories, and it's such a cool place. And I just thought, in the Union where they had the heart, like in the corner, they showed that corner of the building with a heart.
Yeah.
And I thought, why not get the heart out in the city and just enjoy ourselves and just have a good time together. So,
What a great sentiment. That's
Yeah.
really nice, Ken.
well, love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
Ken.
it. Thank you.
All right, moving on to business. Public hearing, roll call vote. See, he tells me, even though I don't pay attention. All right, so item number 10 is to conduct a public hearing in consideration of ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance of the City Council of Nevada, the City of Nevada City, State of California, repealing and replacing Chapter 15.04, Building and Standards, and Chapter 15.08, Fire Safety Standards and California Fire Code Amendments, to Title 15, Building and Construction, to the Nevada City Municipal Code, adopting the 2022 California Building Standard Codes and the 2022 Fire Code, both with local amendments. Presented by our city manager, Sean Grayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The work product here is your city engineer, Brian McAllister, who is debriefing his recent trip to Kurdistan region of northern Iraq, as well as your Division Chief Sam Goodspeed, who is hopefully out of the Root Center by now, but he's been up there all day performing fire marshal duties for the Planning Commission hearing on the environmental for Rise Gold. So I'm filling in for them this evening. Fortunately, this one is relatively easy. So every 3 years, the California Building Standards Commission adopts and publishes new model codes for California. And it's across the spectrum, so building, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, residential, green building, energy, historical building, existing building, reference standards, and fire codes. So we, as a city, are allowed to adopt a more restrictive code through local amendment, or we can just live with the base code. Nevada City, specifically, and Nevada County really as a whole, have local climatic, topographical, and geological conditions that necessitate local amendments, and we've done these for as long as there's been model codes, really. So in adopting this first reading this evening, we will have the same code and local amendments as are in Nevada County and in Grass Valley. So basically, if you're building anything in western Nevada County, you will be subject to all of the same codes. So always the question is, what are the changes? Usually there's a lot of changes. In this case, there's not a tremendous amount of changes. There is for some communities, but what has happened for us and others in the foothills is what used to be local amendments is now in the base code. So they just keep ramping up energy efficiency, access to solar, access to EV charging, things like that, that some of which we've already adopted. So except for the additional energy saving features, including the electrical infrastructure requirements, most of the code changes are what they call technical in nature. So while they have a performance standard difference, there's not as big a deal. That being said, it is important to note that these changes, while minor, they're cumulative in nature, and they will have an increase in the cost of building homes and other structures. That is inevitable. And the local building advocacy groups, obviously have been through this with the county and Grass Valley before. I think that their numbers are somewhere in the range of 40 to 50% of the total cost of construction of buildings comes down to compliance with local standards, building permits, and the like. While that sounds horrible, the alternative is you could have no building codes, and then, it would be 50% cheaper, but it would definitely fall down if there was an earthquake or a flood, or, it wouldn't be fire resistive and to wildland fire environments like we live in. So I wish there was a different way that we could accommodate that, but there's not. But I do need to note that this does have the potential, and almost certainly will cost a little bit of money, increasing the cost of construction. With that, this is essentially adopting all of these codes by reference with the local amendments. Even the local amendments are not our own unique language. We're just saying these optional items from the code will apply here as well. I lost my paper, but so this is a public hearing, so we would recommend that you conduct a public hearing, hold first reading, and then waive reading of the ordinance in its entirety, read by title only. We'll do all that at the end. Either Dean or I will read it for you, so you don't have to read it again, Mr. Mayor, because it's long. Not as long as some of the other ones. And again, thanks to Brian and Sam, who are doing other things this evening that are much more work than what I'm doing.
I wonder how it's going over there. That's got to be a fun show over there. Well, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Does somebody want to give me a motion, or what are we doing here? Are we going to try for public comment?
Yep.
Any public comments on this issue in the room or online?
Anyone online wish to make a public comment, please raise your virtual hand. Not seeing any.
Where is Matthew? Okay, so not hearing that, let's start with the table. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody? Gary?
I'm just going to comment that this is alignment and consistency. So as Sean very adeptly explained, this is so everybody works from the same level. It's important to do that. We are unique. The changes that are made are consistent with where we live, and I think this is an administrative deal that we need to do so everybody can have the same playing field.
Getting us up to speed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. It's also, it's going to cost a little bit more money, but it's also going to make us safer.
It always does these
It's also
days.
going to make us safer,
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
Nothing new to add.
And you got my note about the small correction.
Yes, so there's what would amount to a clerical or typographical error in there, non-substantive, so we'll be able to make that change with the adoption.
Okay.
Great. All right, so can I get a motion?
I move that we hold the first reading, waive reading of ordinance in its entirety, read by title only, and schedule for second reading and adoption for May 24th, 2023 for, do you want to read it?
Sure. Second.
Ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, repealing and replacing Chapter 15.04 Building Standards and Chapter 15.08 Fire Standards and California Fire Code amendments to Title 15 Buildings and Construction to the Nevada City Municipal Code, adopting the 2022 California Building Standards Codes and the 2022 California Fire Code, both with local amendments. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
One
how you
breath.
do it.
One breath.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
And Mayor Fleming.
Yes.
Motion passes.
On to business.
Is that an Olympic sport?
It's like
It's a class in law school, right?
Yes.
All right, item number 11 is consideration of a presentation of a biomass electricity purchase options in coordination with Pioneer Community Energy to fulfill SB 1383 recovered organic waste products requirements. And today we have...
So I will kick it off, and then this is Kirsten, welcome. So last year, the city joined Pioneer Community Energy, and next year we'll start buying electricity from them, which is going to be great. We're members of the JPA, so we have council members assigned to the Joint Powers Authority with Councilmember Peterson, who's been at their board meetings. Councilmember Cece is our alternative, but he has not had to attend yet because we're new to the game. One of the things that the JPA has been advancing for members is volunteer compliance with the purchase of SB 1383 recovered organic waste products. And she'll cover some of that in her presentation. I'm happy to go into more detail, but Kirsten is here with us tonight to give a presentation. And after that, you don't have to make a decision tonight. This is really first introduction to the concept of something, and what I'm looking for is direction to do further due diligence, or if this is just something that the city is not interested in, we don't want to waste, Pioneer or the contract provider's time if it's not something you're interested in. So when she's done, obviously questions, anything you want, and then direction to me would be great. And Kirsten.
Welcome, Kirsten.
Thank you very much. Again, Kirsten Kolpitke with Pioneer Community Energy. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here and give this presentation. Part of what brought this to our attention was our active board members who came to us saying, look, this SB 1383 is a huge compliance component to it, particularly the procurement of organic waste products. And Pioneer is very supportive of biomass energy, and we do procure biomass. So the question became like, hey, can we somehow comply because you guys procure biomass? Can you look into this option? So we did look into it, gave a couple of presentations to our board members, and so this is kind of an overview of how biomass fits into SB 1383 organic waste procurement requirements. Next slide, please.
Sorry. Oh, there.
Okay, thanks. So I'll just go over a little bit about what the organic waste procurement requirement is, what the model is that Greenleaf Power is offering, what Pioneer's role is in this process, some estimated targets that are specific to Nevada City, a cost comparison between the biomass attributes versus compost, legal fees and considerations the jurisdiction may want to take into consideration. Next slide. So beginning in January of 2022, jurisdictions were supposed to be procuring a specified target of organic waste products. In 2023, that target is 30% of their overall target, and in 2024, that 30% goes up to 65%. And then as of 2025 and ongoing, jurisdictions are supposed to be procuring 100% of their targets. There are 4 types of organic waste products that comply with this portion of SB 1383. The first is compost, the second is mulch, the third is anaerobic digestion, and lastly, what we're going to talk about tonight is electricity produced from biomass compliant feedstock. Next slide. So Greenleaf Power is a biomass facility in Riverside County. I think they're approximately a 45 megawatt biomass facility. They have a contract, it's a large facility. They have a contract with Imperial Irrigation District, so they're not selling the biomass power to our jurisdictions. What they are selling is the compliant feedstock that would go into the biomass facility that then produces the power for Imperial Irrigation District. So it works similar to like a carbon credit or an offset. Jurisdictions that choose to participate in this will get a certificate guaranteeing them that the feedstock that was used for this biomass facility came from landfill diversion. Riverside County is particularly suited, well, not Riverside, Greenleaf Power is particularly suited to this type of feedstock. They're not in a heavily forested area the way biomass facilities are maybe in the Sierra Nevada region. Instead, they're in a more urban setting where they might be able to get a lot of different jurisdictions nearby to be able to send them the feedstock for this biomass facility. Next slide. So the proposal and our role in this from Pioneer Community Energy is limited in the sense that we're not going to be signing a contract. We're just helping to facilitate this opportunity. Again, we found out about it. We knew that Greenleaf Power had done a presentation in coordination with CalRecycle, and as a result of that, and our jurisdictions being interested, and we thought this was something that we could offer to our jurisdictions that are partners with us, we helped negotiate the contract that Greenleaf Power provided to us, and we're hoping that as a result of that, jurisdictions can benefit by greater bargaining power with regards to cost of the contract, sort of Costco buying power, as I call it. And we can also save jurisdictions a significant amount of staff time in terms of trying to figure out what all the costs and points of this agreement and how it will work. Next slide. So let's get into some of your target specific. So for the Nevada City, your 2023 target is 74 tons of either compost or attributes, but 74 tons is your target in 2023, and again, that represents 30% of your overall target. The left column, which shows the 2022 energy usage, obviously I don't have the jurisdictions, the municipalities' energy usage. I do have it for the others because those are currently within our jurisdiction, so I was able to provide that. But basically the only caveat to the procurement of attributes is that you're limited on how many attributes you can purchase based upon the municipality's energy usage. So for most of our jurisdictions, that's not a factor, including going up through 2025. So again, in 2023, your target is 74 tons. The estimated cost at $32.50 a ton is $2,405. If you move on to the next slide, in 2024, your target goes up to 65%, and so does your tons, 159 ton. And moving on to 2025, at 100% going forward, that's 246 tons for Nevada City. Next slide. As a cost comparison, we wanted to give folks an estimate as to what it would be like. Now, keep in mind that the cost of compost and mulch varies wildly, so this is just one estimate that we did, and we encourage jurisdictions to do their own estimates. But Greenleaf Power was offering to sell compliant biomass attributes at $32.50 a ton. Nevada City's estimated 2023 target is 74 tons, which gives you a total estimated cost at $2,405. And in addition to that, because Pioneer used its general counsel to negotiate some of this, what we're planning on doing is dividing and conquering and dividing that cost between all the jurisdictions that participated. We want to make sure, one, that our ratepayers aren't paying for it, that Pioneer isn't benefiting in any way in terms of charging an extra fee or anything associated with that. We think the low-end costs for all of the jurisdictions combined would be $10,000 and a maximum of $25,000. And I think at this point we're probably closer to the very low end of that estimate. Now, to compare it to compost, I checked into Western Placer Waste Management Authority, who quoted us $21 a ton for SB 1383 compliant compost. Multiplied by the 74-ton target that you have is 1,554. But the crux of it really comes into the trucking component of it. How do you get that compost delivered to your jurisdiction? So the quote I got was $300 a trip with a 24-ton truck, and it would take 4 trips to haul that to your jurisdiction for an additional $1,200, which brings the total estimate at $2,754. And then the even greater question is, what are you going to do with the 74 tons of compost once you get it delivered? You will probably also need to figure out potentially 2 more contracts, because you're going to have to figure out the trucking contract plus the contract with Western Placer Waste Management Authority. So those are additional considerations that you would have. Next slide.
Good
So-
data.
So again, as I said, the price of compost and mulch varies wildly. And just to keep in mind, beginning January 1, 2027, jurisdictions' procurement targets are going to be changed based upon population changes. So that may not change very much. It may change some for other jurisdictions. And if you guys do have SB 1383 grant, you are able to use that money for the procurement of the biomass attributes. And Greenleaf has indicated to us that as of this date, they still have not signed any contracts for this, but we do think that there is some urgency to doing this, partially because they have been in contracts with jurisdictions that would be able to, in their one contract, would use up all the attributes that Greenleaf would be able to sell. So we did think there was some urgency to bringing this proposal to you. And lastly, each jurisdiction should conduct their own fiscal analysis to determine the best option for compliance and signing the contract. And then last slide. So we've finished our portion of the contract negotiation. The contract delivery term is really up to each jurisdiction, but Greenleaf is expecting a minimum of 3-year contract and is preferring 5-year contracts, so through 2027. And whichever term you guys choose, there's an option to terminate the contract in the event that either through legislative or through CalRecycle regulations, that for some reason those requirements change, either biomass attributes no longer qualify, targets change, you would have the ability to cancel the contract at that point. We were offered 3 tiers of pricing, so depending upon the number of jurisdictions that join, the pricing varies a little bit, and we could get better bargaining power. However, for this to occur, jurisdictions need to act by the end of June, so June 30th is the deadline for this. Attorney fees are probably going to be provided in July, so that we know by that point how many jurisdictions decide to participate in this program. And again, each jurisdiction has the ability to negotiate their own terms with their contract with Greenleaf. So that concludes my presentation. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that folks might have.
Sure, thank you so much. Do we have any public comment in the room or online?
If anyone, I have no attendees.
Okay. All right, Lou, you got anything? We'll just go around the...
Yeah, I don't understand it. So we collect our garbage and it goes someplace, and then we pay people some money and we get compost back? Is that the gist of it?
If you decided to go the compost route, yeah. So you guys are, every jurisdiction's generating waste. It goes to the landfill. The whole point of SB 1383 when it went into place was to divert stuff from the landfill. Let's get rid of the stuff in the landfill. So the only goal that we're looking at with regards to SB 1383 is landfill diversion. So the idea is that they want jurisdictions to procure items that would potentially divert landfill. It doesn't have to be from your landfill, but it has to be from a landfill.
And these are specifically compostable items, food scraps and such?
Yes.
Right.
Well, I mean, in the case of
organic waste.
biomass attribute,
Organic
it would
waste,
be,
yeah,
yes, it would be wood urban waste, yeah.
Is it going all the way to Greenleaf and Riverside?
No.
So Greenleaf has agreements with 19 different jurisdictions in their area. And so the waste is going to be from the Riverside County area, trucked into Greenleaf Power. They will then use that wood waste as the feedstock to generate the energy. And as a result of that, jurisdictions that choose to sign a contract with Greenleaf get a certificate of compliance. You will have no product in your hand at the end of the day, but you have purchased the feedstock to go from the landfill to the biomass facility in sort of a carbon credit type of
Oh,
manner.
so it's not our feedstock, it's somebody else's.
It is not your feedstock.
Got it, now I understand.
So comprehensively, yeah, SB 1383 is under CalRecycle's terms, and it is an obligation of all cities and counties.
Unfunded obligation.
It is an unfunded mandate. It is an unfunded mandate. And one of the things that they did that's unique in this legislation, that although it is problematic for us but appears to be effective, is that they mandated something, but they also created a market for which they mandated. So in this case, we have two obligations.
Imagine that.
One is that we purchase recycled paper beginning in 2022, which we do. All the paper we buy now is at least 30% recycled paper. So if you don't like it, that's why. It feels different. It runs through the printer different. We are compliant with that. The other thing that's required is this opportunity for either to purchase diverted material in some fashion, and there's a variety of different materials that you could buy to purchase, or to purchase an opportunity for somebody else's diverted material to count towards your credit. And that's what this is an opportunity to buy that credit instead of buying that 74 all the way up to 256 tons in the out years of diverted material and compost. Instead, we would be buying a credit, and the idea would be that, one, it's cheaper, two, we don't have to figure out what to do with the compost, and three, conceptually, it's consistent with the law in that it's better for the environment and that those items are being diverted from landfills and are used to create energy. And since Pioneer Community Energy is in the energy business, someday, hopefully there would be biodigestion or biomass opportunities closer to home, but nonetheless, that's where we are. It is not ideal, and it is somewhat complicated, but at the end of the day, we're obligated to do something in that arena, and this is the one area that we do not comply with CalRecycle's obligations today, nor does most of California. But a few places do. They purchased theirs, and I believe, Kirsten, would you be able to say that everyone in Pioneer Community Energy is considering this, with the exception of one city? Is that correct?
I think at this point, two jurisdictions are probably opting not to pursue this route, and the others we've all visited or seem to be interested in pursuing this route.
Can you name the two jurisdictions, or do you know why?
Placer County and Rockland at this point have declined to participate in that, and they're going an alternative route. I believe, and I don't know the details of it, so I don't want to like overstate what they're doing, but my understanding is that they're looking at purchasing the compost and having some sort of agreement with the facility to either leave the pile at the facility and then have farmers come and pick it up for free. So jurisdictions can't resell the product, because then you're sort of taking away the market from the people that are selling it in the first place. But they would allow then farmers to come and pick it up. There are some issues that jurisdictions are going to have to figure out in terms of whether or not that meets CalRecycle's requirements. Will they be able to provide some certification that the material is SB 1383 compliant? What happens? Do they have a commitment from the ag community that all of their tons of compost will be procured? What happens if it's not? If they're not leaving the pile at the facility, is there going to be trucking involved? So I think there are some additional considerations. The nice thing about the proposal that we're providing now is it's not for forever. It could be a short-term solution until you figure out alternatives that may be able to come in the future, or it could be a long-term solution, right? And so the nice thing is and a couple of our jurisdictions do have some free compost days or whatever, but I think last night we were in Loomis, and they do have free compost. But the most they were able to give away was 200 tons, which for them represents less than half of what they will need to get rid of in 2025. And then again, that's just for 1 year. So what happens in 2026 after you've given away 500 tons and you have another 500 tons coming in the year after that? So it's a huge issue for jurisdictions in terms of what do you do with it? Like, we'll buy it, but we don't have anything. We don't have anywhere to go. And I think there's also potential issues. We've been told the compost is very clean in nature, but again, farming communities are also going to need something with a very specific pH balance or something that needs, we're told that some of the compost is not very uniform in nature, so it may not be something that you would want to put in your playgrounds. So I think there's considerations. I think it could be a very viable product and opportunity for some jurisdictions and not as viable for others.
Thanks, Kirsten. A couple questions here. Can you tell us a little bit about the urgency of by the end of June? Why that urgency?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. Part of it is because we negotiated this for jurisdictions within Pioneer Community Energy. So potentially, if there is no decision from a jurisdiction by the end of June of 2023, jurisdictions may try and pursue contracting agreement with Greenleaf. And it's also possible that Greenleaf may not have attributes to purchase after June 30th. The June 30th deadline is the opportunity for us to secure pricing for our jurisdictions. And that way we'll know that the first jurisdiction in and the last jurisdiction in by June 30th will all receive equal footing. So after June 30th, we just can't guarantee that there will be attributes available.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And also you had mentioned that it was important to you guys that Pioneer Energy wasn't profiting off of this. Forgive me for saying this. It's not very often I hear businesses doing things out of the kindness of their hearts. So can you tell me a little bit about, is this just about being good partners and organizing a process for us so that we can benefit? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so again, the idea came about with some of our board members, complaining about SB 1383 and the requirements, and then wondering how biomass complies with this organic waste requirement. Was it the procurement of the energy in and of itself? Is it the creation of a biomass facility? And then I started looking into it with the idea that we would be able to come back and provide our board members with a presentation on it. And then what I ended up discovering is that it's not the energy procurement itself, it's the feedstock that goes into the biomass facility. So I watched the webinar that Greenleaf gave with CalRecycle and started providing that information to the board. And as we did that, the board's like, hey, this is very interesting. Is this something, this is not our model, Pioneer, we're not in the waste business. But again, it was something that our board was very interested in, and we want to be good partners with our jurisdictions. So it was something that we felt was worth pursuing, with the caveat that, again, the ratepayers aren't subsidizing this. This is something that we're providing. We're not trying to make money off of it, but we want to be able to do it to be good partners with our jurisdictions.
Great, thank you for that. And just for clarity, Greenleaf then sells the compost? Is that what they do?
No, it's not compost. Basically, in order to produce biomass energy, that feedstock will be burned into the biomass facility. That's what produces the baseload renewable energy.
Got it. Yes, thank you. And the last question I have is for Sean. What's the possibility that there might be a local alternative option, a more local alternative option where, massive amounts of compost don't have to be, trucked across the state?
You mean as far as purchasing compost as an alternative? Yeah, we absolutely, even if you tonight say this sounds good, we'd like you to explore, I will bring back to you the fully detailed options, including what the cost would be for those composts from Weiss Brothers or any of the other vendors that might predictably bid something like that on behalf of the city. So we can definitely provide that detail. I would note that when we do occasionally buy compost, it's nowhere near $21 a ton. It's considerably more than that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, what about all our biomass? we got a lot of green waste up here, If you were going to build a facility up here, I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, so, and we are looking at the option of biomass facilities. The difficult thing about biomass facilities is that generally speaking, especially in this area, if you were to build a biomass facility, one of the greatest benefits of biomass, obviously, of course, is the baseload renewable energy. But second to that is the forest benefits of getting that excess forest waste out of the forest so that you can reduce wildfire risk. In this case, again, 1383 has nothing to do with that. It has only with diverting landfill waste. So, and on top of that, a lot of the facilities that we're looking at are the small facilities, the nameplates of 5 with providing less than 3 megawatts of energy. And those are biomat eligible programs that are eligible for some sort of offset or subsidy to reduce the high cost of biomass. In those cases, it requires a specific type of feedstock that would probably limit the use of urban wood waste and would prefer forests. So in this case, and I think there's a ton of them at the state level, but there are a bunch of amazing goals that we have out there from the state level, and they don't always work nicely together. They conflict rather than complement each other. And in this case, that's one of them, because I think particularly in this area, people are very keen to wildfire reduction risks.
Yeah, just a little. You got, Gary?
Yeah, a couple of things. Thank you for your presentation. One of the reasons that I worked with Sean to get this presentation here is biomass is in our future one way or another, and this was a good way to start to open the door on that and get us, the thinking and the education around how this works. 1383 is a nightmare. One more nightmare. Thank you. But there's reasoning behind it. A couple of things. Well, one, I want to say, Danielle, I think this was just a misstatement, but it's, Pioneer Energy is not a business. I mean, in the sense of a business, they are a community aggregate power, and we run that. It is a community base. It's not, I could ask the attorney, but it's a unique organization unto itself, but it is not a profit-making business in that sense. And that's why we sit on the board, and that's why we help make the shots. So they are doing this, in fact, because it is community-based, and we are members, and this is a need that they're stepping up and supporting the membership in.
Thanks for that
Yeah,
clarification,
it's,
Gary.
and so hopefully we'll get a lot more free stuff from them too. So as we go. The other thing too is I sort of heard you, I might have misheard this, but I thought I heard you refer to Greenleaf as being located in an urban area. And I have been to Mecca, and it is far from an urban area.
Yeah, it is a census spot. You're correct in that they are centrally located to a lot of surrounding large urban
I
areas,
get that part.
which provides them the 19 different stations that are providing their urban waste to them.
But it's like,
correct.
One other thing, and I feel compelled to address this. We did receive a comment from one of our citizens, and I did look this up. And currently, that plant is having some issues with the EPA on emissions. They seem serious. One's difficult to tell with the EPA. And the concern voiced by the citizen, which I thought was a legitimate complaint, are we benefiting, our community benefiting at the expense of another community? And I thought that was, I looked it up. There are some issues. I think, I'd like to know more about that and what's going on. It's a regulatory deal, so who knows? But that was out there and it was flagged, and I think it should be a legitimate concern for all of us.
Agreed.
And I think we can look at the specific facility. I know for biomass facilities in general, they obviously have to meet the air quality standards for the jurisdiction they were at, for the facility that was built at the time that it was built. So if there are continuing issues with that, they're obviously going to be under pressure to close the facility. If they're
clean it up,
they're in non-attainment or severe non-attainment areas, they may also have difficulty qualifying to participate in certain programs like the BioRAM program. So, I mean, we can look in specific to that facility.
Yeah, I suspect, coal burning power plants are way out in the middle of nowhere also. And there's reasons for that because they're often non-attainment areas. So it's just something that I think is a legitimate concern that I'd like to know more about. So,
Same. Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation. You obviously are very knowledgeable, and that really helps us, because I think that we have varying degrees of knowledge here, from like none to a lot. And so thank you for filling that in. And, I hope that the direction that I think we're going to give is to do some more due diligence, to look into this, see what our other options are. That's what I've heard from the table here. Anything else?
No, I think really the numbers that you were showing us are extremely low cost for compliance. They're that's extremely beneficial, I think. That's what it seems like to me. But I would like to know more. I would like to hear some of the cost comparisons, and like to understand, as I always do, what we get for our money. Do the cost benefit thing, but it seems viable.
Absolutely.
It makes sense, and the concern, the urgency concern, I understand, because, there's a finite amount of this, it sounds like, and everybody's going to be clamoring for it at a certain point.
LA could buy it all.
Yeah, no, so.
And any of the top 10, I don't know how far down it goes, but if any of the top 10 jurisdictions in California were to sign a contract, the attributes would be gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, we do have a limited window, and it's not a sale, it doesn't sound like a sales point or anything like that, but, maybe there's a little bit of that in there. But I think that we've given some good direction, and we've got a great presentation, and we know a lot more about biomass and truck and compost across the state. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
All right, folks, moving on to item number 12, consideration of a public improvement agreement between the City of Nevada City and Jonathan Rowe to provide funding for the sidewalk, Little Deer Creek drainage, and parking improvements at the Stonehouse adjacent city right-of-way. Take it away, Sean.
Awesome. So as I'm sure you know, the Little Deer Creek exits, both the creek and the trail exit from the park over the hill down and right into the Stonehouse's parking lot. And then it is undergrounded there. The creek is undergrounded. We have a floating easement across that property for the trail. There's no defined easement there. And then it exits through a giant stonework vault that was built in the 50s by Caltrans, and then ultimately goes under that location across to TJ's Roadhouse and into Deer Creek. Some time ago, there was a failure of the culvert in that area, and that's why you see the sinkhole that is on the property there at Stonehouse. Technically, two properties. The Stonehouse itself is one property, and then most of the parking lot up against both Boulder and Sacramento is a separate parcel, but owned by the same owner. The city has been engaged with the property owner since the sinkhole happened, and we were actually involved in the initial stabilization of the sinkhole. There was a significant tonnage of large diameter rocks put in there to stabilize where it is, but it got worse over these storms, and ultimately the full replacement of the culvert and remediation of the sinkhole and the surrounding area is necessary. This is one of those things that exists in lots of places. It's one of those things that was here when I got here. You do not have to accept this contract tonight, but it is not going to be one of those things that will be here when I leave here. It won't be one of those things that will be here when I'm done with this calendar year. So whether or not you like this contract, this is something that the city needs to be active in fixing and participating in partnership with the property owner. So the infrastructure committee met with Jonathan Rowe and his engineer that did the design for the work on February 3rd. The committee supported the development of agreement to ensure that the project's completed and to bring it back to you at council. Brian and I have worked with the owner and have come up with what we believe is a comprehensive solution to not only his problem, but also to provide a clear path of travel, continuity of ADA access to the trail that is no longer floating easement, but a dedicated easement, and also allows us to do some of the work that will be necessary ultimately for the replacement of the Nevada Street bridge, not this summer, but next summer, the underground connections to that same storm drain system. So in the attached agreement to the staff report, it notes that the city will pay $171,614. This is for the costs of providing the sidewalk, the fencing, amenity, connecting the trail to the existing sidewalk, and costs related to the connection of the storm drain infrastructure along the property edge of Sacramento Street. It also provides that we'll pay $150,170 of things that are not directly we're buying public benefit or we're buying a tangible thing, but instead we're buying public benefit, and those come in the form of, instead of a floating easement, a fixed easement for pedestrian travel that the sidewalk will be constructed on. So there is some cost in creating an adjustment to the map. We'll ultimately lease the parking lot and the adjoining area for use as a staging area for when that bridge is replaced. So that way the contractors will have some heavy equipment. Once the bridge is gone, they'd have to drive, kind of halfway around town to get to the other side. So we'll have two staging areas for them, one being the current parking lot, the Nevada Street lot that we own, and the other being kind of the back part towards the kind of greenhouses on the Stonehouse property that they could store heavy equipment on. And then lastly, we would be leasing, the city would be leasing on a non-exclusive basis the entire parking lot, with a couple of exceptions carved out for spaces that are leased to, none of the houses going up Boulder from there have any parking at all. They don't have driveways, so they use that lot. So those spots will remain intact, as will the ADA parking in front of the building, things like that. But ultimately, we'll lease those parking spots from June of this year till June of 2030, so 7 years. That the city would have non-exclusive use of that parking, which means the community has non-exclusive use of that parking lot, which I think our parking study is going to suggest that we definitely need more parking. The parking study includes all the way to that intersection. I also believe, I don't know, but I believe that making more parking opportunities and making them known on that side of the highway will be beneficial to not only the businesses on that side of the highway, but to our businesses in general in the downtown, because it seems like it's the other side of the Grand Canyon when it's really just a 12-second walk across the bridge. But the more we can do to make that normalized, the use of parking on that side of the highway, I think will be beneficial to everyone. So a lot of potential positives. So if you do approve the agreement, it's $321,784 that'll be accounted for in next fiscal year's budget, because this activity would happen in next fiscal year. There's a number of protections in the contract for the city, the biggest of which is that essentially Mr. Rowe will put all of his, everything that he has to put in to make this project go into an escrow account. The city will do the same. As the project moves forward, his money will be drawn down. If for some reason the project stopped or the contractors walked away or whatever, the city would have a limited investment and have some of the work done. Ultimately, though, hopefully all of it gets paid out and the work gets done, and then we're done. So not that there's no risk, but it is very limiting to the risk of the city in that regard. It's Dean's folks put that contract together, and we worked with Mr. Rowe and his team to. The only real thing that we had to change was we had it at just 2 payments, but the contractors, have a kind of a schedule of they have an upfront cost of buying materials, and they want to get paid for that. So it's broken down now into, if you read through the contract, there's 5 milestones of payment that they can seek reimbursement from the escrow account on. So sounds really complicated, but it's really a contract that will get this project going. There's also language in there that allows the city to, I hope this doesn't happen, but essentially to take over the project should the owner not be able to perform. And so that was
Nice,
important in that this really could be a public safety. It is a public safety hazard. But certainly next year's rains would be disastrous. So we need to get this done this year. And so we're committed to doing that. And I know the property owner is too. Mr. Rowe is out of the country, so he couldn't be here this evening. But, I'm sure he's dedicated to it. But in case something happened, this would give us the opportunity to make sure that it did happen regardless. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We got some public comment in the room. Would you like to come?
Really just a question, who's going to own the park? The city is going to own the parking lot at the end of this?
So the parking area is going to be leased by the city for the next 7 years.
If there's no public comment online or,
If anyone online would like to make public comment on this item, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none.
okay, Lou?
In the recitals of the agreement, Section D, it says the fixed easement will extend to Sacramento Street. I was under the impression the fixed easement would be to Boulder Street.
Yes, that's correct. So I'll look at that part of the.
It's in there, both are in there. There's another further back in Schedule A, it says.
There actually will be both. The fixed easement for the sidewalk.
Yes.
Goes to Boulder Street.
Yes.
There is an emergency vehicle access easement that is existing, within the floating easement, that will remain. And the only reason that we have to keep that is so that a police car, a fire engine, and ambulance could drive through their parking lot all the way back up to the trail, because they won't be able to drive on the sidewalk. But I'll check the language to make sure.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's what we agreed to in the meeting.
It is, and there's, in fact, in the scope of work, it talks about a cut in the wall and an archway onto Boulder Street that designates the fixed easement for the trail.
Yes.
Yeah, and the agreement from, the proposed work from Apex Building Technology also says that the sidewalk goes to Broad Street, so they might want to clarify that, because that would be an interesting feat if they were to do that. I also noticed that in the contract there was, unless I misread it, mentioning of widening the sidewalk along Sacramento?
That is part of what the property owner is undertaking there. So when that owner acquired the building and for its use, that the sidewalk is relatively narrow at that door. It's what we call existing non-conforming. In other words, we wouldn't allow it to be built today. It is allowable for their existing use in perpetuity, but it's certainly not great, right?
The guy who used to work at the door there, I used to be the doorman. People come out that, and people are screaming down Sacramento. So many people almost died in there. He'll tell you.
So the design essentially pushes at the front door there towards the edge of the building, pushes out into the street. The street is significantly above grade there, so there'll be a railing in that section as well. And then it tapers back in as you go further up Sacramento Street towards Clark. So where the sidewalk doesn't lead to anybody's doors anyway.
Cool, but that's all going to go through the Planning Commission and Public Works?
It doesn't go through the Planning Commission. The sidewalk is all, sidewalks, streets, and right-of-way is all the city engineer's purview, not the planning.
Okay. Well, then, good. If it's okay with the city engineer, I'm fine with me.
Danielle.
Can you remind us of the project timeline?
It calls for completion within a specified amount of time, and our ability to allow for it to be completed. I just got something yesterday, day before maybe, that the contractors want to extend the time out a little bit, which will definitely allow through a contract amendment. And the reason for that is because they're digging up Little Deer Creek. So it has to be as dry as possible. Or in a normal year, they think they could do that in June. This year, with how much water we are anticipating coming down there, they're thinking probably it's going to be July, maybe the beginning of August.
Wow. Okay.
But so the completion of the work and the timelines are specified in the contract, and we can hold them to that. But of course, we can, for good cause, we can also allow that. So. I was trying to pull up the timeline, but
it's something like 180 days from when they start.
Yeah, it's 180 days for completion. They're supposed to work with the city on design within 30 days. The design's already done. Brian's already reviewed it, but we will look at it again. And then
Is that standard? 100? How many?
180 days?
Yeah, depending on the project.
6 months completion time for this is, entirely reasonable, and
Got it.
it essentially
Let's
means
get
it's
it done
done
before
before the end of the year, done before it rains or snows again. It's kind of the goal there.
And it seems like that extension is necessary in order to.
Yeah,
to
if we
let
said
this dry.
it could be done in 30 days, the project total construction time probably won't be 30 days entirely, but it wouldn't be reasonable for us to say, you have to start now when, it's not dry.
Sure.
I guess we could, but.
Massive homes.
Yeah.
More expensive.
Yes.
It's actually, it's better to know that the extension is coming and approve it than to get into the project and have it happen incrementally,
Right.
which is what would happen.
Sure, sure.
We're not going to run into any endangered smelt, are we?
Don't say anything like that.
So,
There's a grant, actually, for replacing culverts if you can divert fish,
Well-
protected species, through the culvert. Anyway, go ahead.
One of my questions was, did we applied for a grant with the county on this?
we did,
And
and didn't hear anything back.
didn't hear anything. Is the deadline passed? Did they announce?
The deadline is passed, but as far as I know, they haven't told anybody yet, because what we applied for was the initial application, and then they'll tell people that they are allowed to submit the full application. So nobody's been told they can submit the full application yet. So there's still a chance.
There's the county's COVID grant on recreation and public safety, and this one ticked all the boxes, except it's not a huge pool of money, and rumor has it there's one big project out there that could suck it all dry, but.
Maybe parking at the
It's
river.
good. It's perfect match, but see what happens.
How much is the grant for?
It was under 400,000. It was relatively low. I think we put in for 75,000.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Okay.
So which,
So a little chunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Of the
knew,
project.
you know,
about, 12% of the, 12% of the project.
so
Got it.
I got political around it as much as I possibly could. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I just think that it's been sitting there for a long time. I just have to commend you on working with Jonathan and his people to get to this point. There's been a lot of back and forth, as I'm sure you both know. At one point, there was no solution. And so one of the things that I really appreciate, while I appreciate Mr. Rowe and his business, and, we wish him the best, and, I hope that the Stonehouse is a thriving enterprise, it is a restaurant and a bar, and, they're not the most stable businesses. So adding those mitigation and safety measures, I think, was really smart, whether it was the lawyers or whatever. I think that's just key, just to make sure, change your ownership. I've heard some rumors that it might be for sale. So, those things need to go and stay with the property and not with, the individuals in this situation. So I think that's a really great idea. I'm really excited. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I just want, a couple things. This was, when I first looked at it, and I knew it was out there, and I started talking to Sean about it, this is clearly a public safety issue. Were that parking lot to call it, anything that blocked Little Deer Creek won't stop. That water's gonna go somewhere, and it would take out the entire intersection, it could take out those houses. It could be disastrous, particularly, it would be most likely happen at a very high flow. So I can't walk by a hole in the ground without looking at it anymore, being my professional public works. So this hole has expanded significantly.
Oh my
over
God,
this
yes.
winter. It just really has. So it's good. I just wanted to, this is the kind of work, this is a great project. That we found a way to partner to achieve real value. One of the things for me I got right away was walking that trail, which we call the Tribute Trail. I preferred, when I first lived here, it was Dead Man's Trail. I kind of preferred that, but but it just dead ends and it drops off. And if you don't know where it is, extremely difficult to find if you're coming from town to Pioneer Park. And this will resolve that, which I think is a really great thing. There's real public value in it for us. It's a good partnership, community benefits, business gets taken care of. We solve a real major public works project. And I want to say, I've read my share of public works contracts. Nicely done, Dean. I like it a lot. The piece about protecting the city with the escrow accounts and everything else. Really, it's a good tight contract. I really like it, and it's just one of those, it's a really cool thing for us to be doing this. And
Yeah.
it's good. And I really appreciate your efforts, sir, and the creativity from you and the city engineer. I was out there on the site visit. We all looked at that sidewalk in front of the door and said, no, this got to get, you know.
People have almost gotten killed there. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen people get hit.
Yeah, I'm sure. So all in all, it's a really good project, and if you don't mind, I would move that we approve an agreement between the City of Nevada City and Jonathan Road to provide funding for the sidewalk, Little Deer Creek drainage, and parking improvements at the Stone House and adjacent city right-of-way.
I second that.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
Mayor Fleming.
Yes. Passes for zip. All right. Another good project, right? Look at this. Talk about progress. We had to do a lot of house cleaning the first year. Now we're making progress. All right. Item number 13, last item of the day, consideration of a purchase order for Cassell Inc. for the ERP and Community Development Suite in an amount not to exceed $136,590.
Steve.
It's the Steve Show. All right, so we have Steve here, our interim assistant city manager, to talk about this wonderful purchase. And I'm assuming this is still part of
Prop 64.
our first one?
Yes.
We're finishing that out?
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, go
Another
ahead.
year.
Yeah, great. All right, take it away, Steve. You're muted.
Can't hear you, Steve.
Can't hear you. I know.
Looks like maybe audio's not connected.
Volume?
Zoom is picking up that he's talking.
Something on my end?
How do you know?
The little green box that appears around his window, it does that.
Said something loading up top there, about a city loading.
Well, usually it comes through there, doesn't it? That microphone, I don't know.
Steve, can you hear us? Do you want to log out and log back in? And I'll do a little circus dance.
Get the dog back.
Let's see it. I experience you as a man of your word.
Well,
No, but really.
my first date with my wife was at Fireman's Ball at the Vets Hall in Grass Valley. So,
Really?
yeah, and back then firemen could only listen to country music. The badges said fireman, so it was not a gender neutral term intentionally. Yeah, that was I don't know, it was a while ago. We've been married 26 years now, so
Is that the circus dance?
that was my circus dance. Steve, can you talk?
No.
Unmute on.
Want to just call us on the phone?
Is our audio turned up?
My speakers are up 100%.
I'm gonna put yours on not that thing. Change it to your just computer audio.
Well, I think that's what I already did, didn't I? That's what yeah, I took it off the USB. Oh, maybe it's this? I'm just gonna try clicking on things. Try not.
Say something for us, Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, a little.
Faintly.
Tech savvy.
Barely.
You're just gonna be on the computer. Sorry, Steve. We'll turn it up as much as we can.
Where's my speaker?
It's in the little front there.
The base of the screen, it should be.
The base is. I don't see anything that looks like a speaker, but
Yeah, it's there. You just can't
Okay.
see
Your
it.
volume as high as it can be.
I think it was. Where's my volume?
Little buttons on top.
Right here.
Sorry. Oh. Yeah, it's 100.
Let's get it out.
Go for it, Steve.
Okay.
Ooh.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor.
No.
No,
That's
no,
not gonna
no,
work.
hold on.
That's not gonna work.
Is that microphone turned on, maybe?
Yeah.
You wanna just unplug the extender thing and plug it back in?
Unplug.
What's the unplugged cable at the hanging right there?
I love all of us.
Unplug this,
USB.
the USB microphone and speaker, and then plug it back in.
Plug it back in.
Yep.
Try it now.
What's the plug
Can you
in?
hear me now?
You might have to speak real loud.
We're gonna try one more thing and then see if you can switch to speakers, USB.
Technology is a labor saving device.
You want to take a bio break?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bio break? Bio break?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yes, that would be lovely, thank you.
That's where I was. That's where I was at first when we couldn't hear him.
Now try, Steve.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
No, bio break canceled.
Last agenda item, item number 13. Consideration, oh, we already did that. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. Before you this evening is a request to approve purchase orders and authorize the city manager to execute any related documents pertaining to the city's recommendation to engage Cassell Incorporated as our new ERP system financial provider or finance system provider. So currently the city uses MOMS as its financial system. It's a DOS-based system that's been around probably 30 plus years.
Joan said she started with MOMS. When Joan started, MOMS was the brand new.
I worked on moms for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does its job to record transactions that the city engages in, but really it is antiquated, and the city has outgrown it. And with the Proposition 64 funding, the Corporate 2 program monies that the city was recently awarded, City Manager Grayson and I have discussed getting a new system. As such, back in December of 2022, in compliance with the city's municipal code, section 3.08.050, staff issued an RFP and received 4 proposals in response. The 4 proposals came from Cassell, Edmunds GovTech, Springbrook Software, and Tyler Technologies. Staff evaluated those proposals. The evaluation committee consisted of myself, the accounting technician, and the customer service representative, those of whom actually use the software on a day-to-day basis. So after evaluating the proposals based upon completeness of response, financial stability, technical criteria, cost, their implementation plan, relevant experience, and their software demonstrations, the evaluation committee recommends that Cassell Inc. Be awarded the agreement or the contract to provide the city's financial software system going forward. Cassell was also the lowest bidder by chance, coming in initially with their original proposal of slightly over $71,000. Subsequent to selecting them as the proposed provider, we took a second look at their business licensing module and also their community development suite, which would allow the planning department to have more efficiency when it comes to permitting, planning and zoning, inspections, with the police department, code violations, things of that nature. So wrapping all that in to their original proposal, the total costs all in would be $92,490. That's one-time cost of $48,390, and then annual ongoing costs of $41,100 for maintenance and support, things like that. So what the city staff is recommending is that we engage Cassell and also prepay the second year's worth of maintenance and hosted support costs for a grand total upfront cost of $136,590. And again, as I mentioned, this entire project would be funded by Proposition 64 funds. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Do we have any public comment in the room or online?
I have no attendees.
Okay, Gary.
So Steve, I keep getting the feeling you've been around. So my question, one of my backgrounds in local government is organizational development. I can't tell you how many migration projects I've worked on from system to system, and what it just. So how are we going to handle the migration here, Steve? That's my question.
Well, they got lots of money for it.
Well, the migration in and of itself shouldn't be too difficult, with the exception of that. I'm not sure. None of the vendors, I believe, had any pre-written code to migrate the data from MOMS to.
Nobody has that.
So,
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
But that's all for the most part, that's built into their proposals. Each vendor also had a third party that the city could engage to assist staff with migrating the data from MOMS into, in this case, Cassell, but the other three proposers offered that also. I think in terms of the other aspects of the migration over to Cassell, such as training, the mapping of accounts, cleaning up accounts, I think that's not going to be too difficult. I think staff would actually thoroughly enjoy it, kind of fine tuning the chart of accounts, cleaning up years and years of just kind of starting anew with updated technology that assists staff with
Rather than impede staff?
with and not just finance staff, but staff citywide that will have access to a dashboard with running their departments, being mini finance directors, so to speak. But the migration, I think the migration will go smoothly. It's estimated to take about 9 months. So roughly we're looking at going live July 1 of 2024. However, we will run MOMS concurrently with Cassell from April 1st to June 30 of 2024 to ensure the data integrity, that the system is working as it should, so on and so forth. So we'll run 2 systems at the same time for about 3 months.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Steve. Great answer.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Daniela?
Yeah, I feel like this is a continuation of something that we've been doing for the last couple of years, which is getting on track, updating, streamlining, all that sort of thing. I used to joke that Nevada City was operating on Windows 95. Turns out, in a lot of ways, we are and have been. I'm excited for this. This sounds great. I'm moving us into not even the future, but the present. Feels really, really necessary. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Daniela. Lou?
I just think this is a wonderful step toward transparency because now people can answer the questions that citizens have about where our money is and where it's going.
You put that together with a real budget.
Yeah. So, when I first started here, there was this grant for $1 million. And I was like, okay, well, what do we need? And this was my first week, I think, here. And it was a different administration then. And, I was working with Katrina and Chad, our police chief, and they told me about the operating system and the phone system, and we put in $350,000, I think, for a new phone system, a new permitting and financing system. And this is the tail end of that. We bought the phone system, right?
Yeah, the phone was in a different category, but yes, this is the only item in this category because under the data collection category, $150,000 is in that category. We also have in the other category $50,000, and so the combined two, 150 and 50, will allow us to do this. Cassell has a robust data management component, so all of our records will be able to be, PDFs stored with, common nomenclatures and things like that. But additionally, we'll be able to replace our website and go to a Public Records Act and subpoena tracking software component that will connect our data storage to our records output capability, and we'll do all of that within that $200,000 that is for this purpose.
Excellent, excellent. And
Thank you for getting us that money.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, and I'm just glad that it got spent in the. Well, because when I heard what the cost was, I was like, that's a lot of money for a phone. And now I understand, after a couple of years, you understand that this does a lot. And if it's going to take 9 months to migrate, that's a hell of a lot of data. But the thing I really liked is that you front-loaded 2 years of maintenance into it. I mean, we're maxing it out. You've squeezed every dollar out, I can tell. There's no other more money out of this. So I really appreciate that. And it's just good to see the work that we did as a council, come to fruition. And so, and I thank you, Steve, and Sean for helping us get there.
I would say that this is Steve could correct me, but I think this is a very competitive bid for software as a service. This is web hosted, which people have been afraid of for a very long time. But the reality of keeping this on a Blade server or virtual server in our basement is just.
You don't do that.
You're guaranteed somebody will hack your data at some point, whereas these are, Amazon cloud hosted servers with, incredibly robust redundancies and that kind of thing. But, I think we're getting a very good price point. I was concerned when we went out to bid that we would be much higher. I think the last we switched from Tyler to another product in my previous life, and I think we're north of $4 million.
I've done a couple of them that were.
Bigger city, but not that big a city,
I've done a couple that were multi-million dollars.
Really?
And you had to do all the hardware to support them if you weren't ready for that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like everybody said, we're joining the modern age and helping our staff do their job better and more efficiently and being able to communicate with the public. One of the things was you couldn't use cell phones out in the field before. Wasn't there a problem with using cell phones in our old system? Anyway, doesn't matter. It's history.
Or getting your phone. The thing I like the most, if you're at home, don't pay attention. You can call my phone, and if I don't answer, it goes to my email so that I can respond to the mayor or the vice mayor.
See, there you go.
I would like to make a motion. I move that we approve the purchase orders to Cassell Inc. for ERP and Community Development Suite in an amount not to exceed $136,590,000 cumulatively, and authorize the city manager to execute any related documents.
I second that.
Councilmember CC.
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
Mayor Fleming.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Poor Zip.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
All right, council members, does anybody have any committee reports to make?
I do.
Daniela, take it away.
Hi, folks. Last week, I had the honor to meet with the LGBTQ State Legislative Caucus. Nevada County Pride hosted a listening session. Pascal from Ubinet moderated. We were the first stop on their rural listening tour. And then I had the honor of giving them a tour of Nevada City with Godoti Senior, Maddox Eckerling, and we're able to include some of the Nevada City LGBTQ history with the history of the Miners Foundry and KVMR and Osborne and Woods. That was really, really exciting. Sean and I had a good meeting today. The meeting was in preparation, and I know we're still a little ways off of me being mayor in July, but just so you guys know, I'll be getting a total knee replacement on the left knee June 8th.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
trying to get
Oh, no.
some important things out of the way. I know that's so no you for you,
no.
Doug. No, it's okay. It'll be the first of.
It's all right, Doug.
It'll be the first of two. So yeah, that was an exciting meeting. Look forward to more of that, and also just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that one of our local businesses had a Heartwood Eatery had a pride flag posted outside of the restaurant. It's been there for years, I think, for as long as they've been open. A sign of inclusivity and welcoming, all are welcome here sort of feel. Very, very inclusive and welcoming business. That sign was defaced on Sunday morning, and there was something really, really inappropriate and transphobic written on it. And, you know, just as we move into June and Pride Month, it makes me both angry and heartbroken, particularly for our youth to see that and experience that. And I'm just thinking about the things that we've done as a council, and then also the council before us. You know, in 2018, there was a resolution establishing Nevada City as a hate-free zone. And then also, you know, Gary and I worked with members of the Board of Supervisors and Grass Valley City Council to last year to pass a resolution adopting a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion mission and vision statement. And just thinking about these are great things that the city has done that are largely words. And so I'm really interested in my time as mayor to give those things a little bit of legs or teeth and bring them into the realm of the living and not just symbolic wordage. And also just thinking, you know, how we're on track for an update for the council's values in July. So I look forward to that special meeting workshop as it pertains to this and just the broader city values.
Thank you, Daniela.
Yeah, and sorry, just one more thing. When something like that happens, there is an effect. There are a lot of LGBTQ youth in our community and elders, people of all ages, and seeing that is really, really discouraging and heartbreaking and makes people feel unsafe. And so just noting that as we move into Pride Month and knowing that we got some backlash last year for putting the flags up, you know, acknowledging, yes, June is a time for pride, for people who are part of the LGBTQ community to be proud of who they are and who we are and who we love. And In a rural community, sometimes being visible can also be scary. And so speaking to our allies, if you could just please remember that and remember to reach out to your LGBTQ friends and check in on them and let them know that you support them and love them.
Thank you, Daniela. Beautiful. Lou, do you got anything?
I'd just like to acknowledge Daniela's leadership in helping the youth, the LGBTQ youth in this community feel safe and welcome, and most of all, listened to. I had the honor of working with her just this Monday and helping to assemble the pride flags that will go up on June 1st. And to see the hope and excitement and actually brilliance in the eyes of the young people there was very encouraging to this old queen.
Awesome. Thanks, Lou.
Thanks, Lou. Gary?
Yeah, so one of my favorite stories, you know, when I was first, long time ago, when I first had a house in 2000 in Nevada City, and I was coming back up from the Bay Area, and as I often did, I would drive up Broad Street and go around town and then go to my house. And I was driving up Broad Street, and I started seeing the pink heritage dogwoods, and I'm like, oh my God, I want one of those. And I got home and I had one. I didn't even know it. And it's in my front yard, and it's pink right now, and I love that tree. But it's springtime in Nevada City, and it's springtime, and it feels, after this last one, it feels so good. It's like you could stand around and hear everything growing, but the roses are starting to bud, you know, so I just wanted to, you know, it's great because it's beautiful here in the springtime. It's wonderful here all the time, but, so I just keep thinking about springtime a lot lately. That's what I got.
Thank you, Gary. City Manager, take it away.
Well, our flags were at half-staff for a little while until Burl Robinson's memorial, which was a great event across the highway at Hooper and Weaver. Flags did go back up, but unfortunately they're back down at half-staff again under a presidential declaration for the shooting in Allen, Texas. So we are working on, as strange as it is, there's a tie to pride in that. We're working on trying to put another flagpole on the roof of this building. It's harder than you would think because that flagpole is built into the superstructure of the roof. So we're left with, we're hoping just to do 3, you know, side-by-side flagpoles, but we're going to end up with another one on the parapet wall right in front of the flagpole, and that's where we can fly the pride flag in June or any other flag that the council decides to fly. And the reason for that is because when we go to half-staff, we have to take down the 3rd flag because it hangs on the parapet wall. So, you know, I would love to say that we won't go half-staff again for any reason, especially for mass shootings and the death of children or the death of anybody, but unfortunately, I don't think that will be a truth. Had the opportunity to attend the Elemental film at the Onyx downtown, which is at the Nevada Theater. It's a film about wildland fire, especially in California. It was very well attended by folks from our Fire Safety Advisory Committee and the community at large, very interested in that. Was able to sit on a panel, Q&A panel at the end with several colleagues from the Forest Service and the county and Placer County and a variety of other folks that are interested in fire prevention, fire protection, and burning, you know, both cultural burning and prescribed burning. So it was a good turnout, lots of good questions, and it was hosted right here in Nevada City, which was awesome. June 3rd, since Councilmember Klein's not here, I'll pitch for him. June 3rd is our citywide cleanup day, Saturday, June 3rd. Green waste, bulky items, e-waste, mattresses included. That was a question at our last meeting. No tires. And then lastly, join Councilmember CC and Klein next Thursday, the 18th, with the members of our Fire Safety Advisory Committee. I won't be there. Chief Foss and I are attending a class on how city managers and police chiefs can team up to better serve their city councils. So we hope to learn about that. And that is all I have for you this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, can I add something? Do you mind? Speaking of Chief Foss, I also just want to personally thank the chief and the police department for their assistance on following through with the crime of vandalism of the sign outside of Heartwood. Really, really quick to act, and I know they've been working to look through some video footage, so thank you.
Excellent, thanks.
I don't think you
All
have
right.
a lot of room for improvement on the council relationship there.
Always room.
Always improvement. Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.